bringing in the awareness, and then work on, you know, um, in healing whatever that was. So when I brought in the awareness that I was eating from loneliness in this case, whenever that feeling started to come up, I had to practice now doing it differently. Okay, Amanda, no shaming me today.
Okay, I'll try not to.
For the record, you've never done that.
Yeah, I have never shamed you over food. Actually, I've never shamed you about anything, have I don't
No.
think so.
No, I've never felt shamed by you, no.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good for the audience to know too.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, on
Yeah.
that note, today our topic's gonna be about how stress hits us and then we all reach for something, whether that's food, control, or a distraction. So this episode is about finding healthier ways to cope without the shame.
Without the shame.
Without the shame. Exactly. Welcome back to Not Here to Fix You. I'm your co host, Amanda, a food freedom and guilt recovery coach. And with me today is my other co host, Laziena.
Hi, I'm Laziena. I'm your repair language guide, and I like to help people return to love after conflict. So, Amanda, this is a really good topic today. Take it away. Let's see what you got for us. I'll participate.
So I think everyone knows that I already help women to eat with less guilt and shame and no dieting. But yeah, I definitely like this topic today because I think we've all reached for food when we have been, I'm going to use the term dysregulated because there's so many ways you can reach for food and use that as a coping mechanism, right? So for me, it's been when I'm really stressed out. That's when I've had the episodes of reaching for food when I wasn't really in the headspace to have a healthier relationship with food. So in the past, when I had a very stressful period, food was my go-to. I think I mentioned this before that food was like something that was consistent for me and it was a constant in my life. So I knew it wasn't something that was going to let me down. And if I knew I was getting that particular thing that I wanted to eat, I knew that I wouldn't be let down by food. So in times of stress, I was looking for stability. And I kind of found that in food. But I think with Lazina, she has a different trigger. Like for her, it's emotions, right? Like when
Yeah.
you're, yeah.
Mine is
So
straight up emotional eating. I've used food as a coping mechanism since I was in my early 20s, but I think it's also based on the habits. Like growing up in a culture where food is what people use to soothe, right? Like if I'm a kid is upset, and not even like you're sad, here you have some food or have ice cream. Like it's a reward. It was also like a reward system. So can be joy from it, but I chose food because it was instant gratification, so to speak, and I just didn't know better. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing. It was very subconscious. But when I started working with you and we started tracking that, it was definitely linked to a lot of loneliness for me. Or anytime I felt ashamed or guilt, that would be the go-to for me. Just reaching for food and eating things that just aren't even things that I don't like. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I don't like peanut butter. It's not my favorite thing. Like, I don't know, just not a peanut butter person. But whenever I'm stressed out or overwhelmed or sad or, any of the lower vibrational feelings, I don't even want to say lower vibrational because every feeling is important. But I think you know what I mean. I would go straight for food.
mhm.
And then I would make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it's like, I don't even like this, but I'm still, and then of course I would shame myself for eating that and then feel guilty and stay in my cycle. So it was definitely emotional.
Yeah, that's true. Like while you were saying that, I remember there was a show. I can't remember the name of the show, but I remember that this lady was on the show and she had a phone call, and that phone call was really stressing out. So she was between stress and having like an emotional turmoil going on, and she immediately grabbed the lemon pie that was near and she started stuffing her face. So
Yeah.
I think in a way that was just to like repress her feelings. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, she's repressing what she's feeling right now and she's using food and she's literally trying to numb herself with food. So I think that's like a complete representation of a bit of you and a bit of me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm stressed out, that's what I would have done. Like I would go grab food and then you are trying to regulate with food. So I think like it's a combination. Like
Yeah.
as I was talking and you were talking, that's the image that popped in my head. But let's talk about some of the ways that we both try to overcome it. So what's something you've done to like ease yourself out of that emotional eating cycle?
Yeah. Well, first it became awareness, bringing the awareness, and I think your journaling helps. Like you gave me four things I needed to write down, and you'll have to remind me what those four things are because they're like automatic now, so I don't need to like be as structured in it. But at first, I needed to bring in the awareness that, like, there were times I didn't even realize, like that lady, for example, you were saying on the phone, and then she was eating. That would be me, but I wouldn't realize until after. And then
Mhm,
because I wasn't present with it, I didn't feel like I was
mhm,
full. I didn't feel like eating. I ate. It wasn't satisfying or anything like that. So at first, it definitely needed to be that awareness, bringing in the awareness, and then work on, you know, um, and healing whatever that was. So when I brought in the awareness that I was eating from loneliness in this case, whenever that feeling started to come up, I had to practice now doing it differently. And so in those moments, some of the things that helped us having accountability partners that won't
mhm,
shame. I will, because it's like I'm eating and I'm feeling guilty, and then I'm also hating myself, and I don't want to go tell somebody that I ate and I'm not so proud of it. There's all of these groups that are the support group in like Facebook community that have, especially fitness group that says let's, check in. I think those are nice because even if there's a little bit of guilt there, I'm still like, okay, tomorrow I can do that differently. The next day I can do that differently. And so after practicing that and getting into the habit of recognizing when I'm doing it and consciously choosing, the other part of it was reconnecting with the joys of eating. And that's something that you taught me. So going back to what brought me joy to eat when I was little and eating from that space without the loneliness or, the lower vibration emotions, that that aspect of it really brought in the mindfulness. So when I'm eating now, I'm paying attention to what I'm eating. I'm sitting with, I'm like, okay, this actually feels good. And I'm nourishing my body from a place of, from not a place of shame. And I think that was pretty significant for me. Now, I don't do it perfectly all the time. There's times when I mess up. Like if I'm having an overwhelming week, I'm like this past week was pretty busy, and to
mhm.
one point where I'm just tired, like my eyeballs are tired and I just needed to take a break for myself. But I found myself snacking in ways I was like, no, 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 correct this right now. Not in that stern way, but allowing myself to giving myself grace through it, but then also being mindful, like, okay, tomorrow I can do this differently. And, being able to acknowledge that, okay, I'm not doing this in the way that I learned and I'm in practicing. I need to get back on track. And sometimes that's the part that can also keep me stuck. So I feel like having accountability partners or people that understand what my goals are and how I like to receive accountability too. Because I think that when I use the word accountability, it can, not me, but the word accountability can come with a level of shame because we've never learned how to do that differently as well. Yeah, I really believe in the power of partnership when it comes to overcoming something like that we use for coping. Because if, like with any other thing, like I'm using food, but there's addictions in so many other way that are also subconscious. So I think those all have its merit when it comes to how we cope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I like that you brought that up because I think there are some Facebook groups out there that are helpful. But I think what I also realized was so with the journaling, in case anyone was curious as to, she's like,
Yes,
oh, there are
please.
4 things I can't remember. It's basically being present. So I tell people it's not so much as what you eat because a lot of times I think with diet culture, we're so focused on what we're eating and like what calories are in this, what are the ingredients, but we don't focus on ourselves and we're not actually present with food. We're just trying to dissect it. So what I told Lazeena to do was actually sit with not all that stuff about food, but like see where she's sitting, see where she's eating, what before she starts eating, what are the emotions that are actually coming up for her. After she finishes eating, how does she feel? And similarly, in the middle of eating, is there anything coming up? Because these are things that you kind of need to focus on, not so much on the food, because that's kind of irrelevant unless like, you're on a weight loss journey. I don't think it's relevant to track your food and like those microcalories everywhere. But um when it comes to accountability, you're right. Like I think but there are actually people out there who do want accountability in a shame-based manner. So I think they actually like, and unfortunately, I see a lot of this on social media. Like in this past week, I have seen at least 5 to 6 videos like that. And that's what makes me also not want to be on social media a lot. But people will come on there and be like, oh, we all have the same 24 hours. So like, how can you not do it? Like, it's so rash and entitled. And like, but I do realize that might work for some people, but that doesn't work for everyone because if you're going to come on there and try to give accountability by shaming someone, I personally believe you can't shame anyone into being healthy. And just to make this clear, because I know for food, this is so mind boggling for people, but when we're trapped in diet culture, but think about it this way, because like you brought up addiction, right? Now, so if we are going to talk to, you want to have an intervention with, say, an alcoholic, are you going to sit there and start shaming them about how much they drink?
Mm.
Probably not, right? So, why do we do the same thing when it comes to food and people and body image? I just don't understand it. But accountability in the way that you can let someone tell you what's been going on with them and just listen to them, I feel oftentimes that helps more.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you just have to sit and listen. Like, I do think, giving some useful suggestions would be good. Very often, I think Nazina did ask me, and then I would suggest things. But
Mhm.
sometimes I think you just wanted me to listen to how the what was going on with you, and then I felt like from that only you kind of knew. I didn't need to tell you; you already knew.
Yeah.
You knew what you were gonna do better, but it's just that you needed that I don't know to get things off your chest, and I think that in itself helped you. But again, these are like individual people. So I
Yeah.
don't want to like give group tools, but yeah, you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
works for people at an individualistic level. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that we all have a different way of coping, but it would be good to give accountability without adding shame and guilt to the mix because
Yeah.
the person already knows. Like she knew that she didn't have a great week and she wasn't making good choices with food. I knew in the moment, but I still went through with it at times because, like I said, that was the way I was trying to numb myself in a
Yeah.
way. I was trying to regulate. It was not healthy, but it's what we did. And if you are still struggling with that, I don't want people to think that you're a bad person. It's just the behavior needs to shift, but you aren't like bad for slipping up and going through those phases every once in a while. And no one's perfect. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we aren't doing that at all now.
Uh,
There might be times we still are. So
yeah.
don't sit there and think that like, oh wow, these two people are completely healed. They don't like,
Mm-mm.
ever slip up with food because we still do from time to time. But we've gotten better at catching it. At least I can say that. I wanted to bring up emotional needs because I think very often you said that I remember you telling me that sometimes we need to figure out what it is, what's the need that's missing. So like
Yeah.
maybe you can touch on that like now.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Because that's as you were talking, I was thinking when it comes to what's to stop that shame cycle. we have to go through the experience. So if I'm eating and it's a coping way, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm shaming myself because I'm doing the thing that I said I wouldn't do. It robs me of the opportunity to really see what my emotional needs are underneath that, because then I'm stuck on the behavior and I'm sitting there like really in my head, like, man, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. And I'm in that shame guilt spiral. And I'm not taking the time to see, okay, well, underneath this, I need connection. Underneath this, I need a friend. Maybe I had a hard day and I just need to get out of my head. My mind, body, and spirit are not in full alignment. So I need to take a moment to pause and find out what I'm lacking in my life that I need to give to myself that I'm replacing with food. Now, if I'm in a high stress situation or I'm overwhelmed, that's a moment for me to pause, anyways, because then I'm going into a cycle that is going to continue, that's going to have me in that continuous spiral. I feel like I said spiral 80 times there, but we're gonna go with it. But yeah, emotional
Well,
needs,
it's fine.
yeah, emotional needs are very important because in all aspect of our lives, whether we're parents or we're working and every day we get up, we have a routine, we have a job that we go to, or we have things that we take care of. And over time, if we don't take time in that day to meet our emotional needs, with this, just like maybe even being, every individual have a different emotional needs that is based on their soul note. So one can't fit all. So it's like really important to do the take it's really important to take those times when the shame is coming up and when the guilt is coming up to see, okay, what is it that I need? What am I not no longer aligned with? Is this, if I decided 2 years ago that this is the woman that I want to become, and then 2 years down the line I'm still having some of those behaviors, I still need to go and find out what it is that needs to be met there. And when it comes to eating from overwhelm, in its sense, that's straight up not being present with myself. That is absolutely not honoring that I need space. I need to think. I need to journal. I'm too much in my thoughts rather than my heart. I'm not operating from myself. And instead of, sitting there and continue to have negative thoughts, write them down, experientially put the thoughts on paper, get it out of my system. And it sucks because, like, okay, if there's a food there, why would I want to go sit and journal if there's food, right? And I think that's like temptation that's sitting there. But being conscious about that alone, I think makes the world of difference. Yeah, that's yeah.
I agree. And I can definitely attest to like tapping into the emotional needs because when for those who don't know, I was also working with Laziena because I wasn't in touch with my emotions. But um yeah, you using those tools that you suggested, they helped me to connect with what need was missing from my life when I went to my phases of emotional eating. Like I said, I was more of a spiral. Just to give context, I made a quiz where there are four types of eating behaviors, and you either fall into any of those categories or you might be a combination of some. But Lazina is an emotional eater, and I'm more of a spiral eater, which is when I am stressed out. But realizing what my emotional need was and what I was missing, that was something I could give myself once I actually went through those exercises that she gave me to do. But before that, when if I had to just work on the stress eating, which was very much my experience, I realized for me, it was because a lot of times I was caught up in my head and I needed to connect and be more present in my body. I'm a very, yeah, I like to say I'm more in my head than in my body. So for me, it was like I would go and exercise, or I would, go for a walk, or I would call up someone.
Yeah.
Especially if I had like the emotional need was to connect, then I would call someone and like have a conversation about stuff. And that felt like a good release in itself. Like I didn't need to go to food because once I finished that conversation or I finished that walk or that exercise, I was like, okay, you know what? It's all good. Like it's not as stressful as I thought it was. And I think very often we let that stress build. But we need that stress to like be released in some way. And yes, we often turn to food for that, but there are healthier ways like what Lazina suggested and what I suggested. So it's all about breaking out of that. So if you're struggling with food right now, you have to figure out which one of those categories you fall into. Once you figure that out, then you have tools to like get like, yeah, overcome those behaviors and replace them with healthier coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
It's all a process. Like I know I'm making this sound easy right now, but we're just
Yeah.
talking about it. It's
Mhm.
not easy. It
Yeah.
it takes time. Like it took me quite a while. I don't can't remember the time limit, but it definitely took a while.
Yeah.
So it's not like you'll be perfect in a month or so because this is something that's new and everything that you have learned, you have to unlearn. So it's not impossible, but it's not, simple. So I don't want to like make people believe that this is going to be a quick fix because it's not. It's not a quick fix. You're going to have to put in some work. I can say that because when I was like working with Lazina, it took me like a really long time till I get to a place where I feel connected with my emotions and myself. So I know that that includes work, and from working with other clients, I can tell you that working on a relationship with food that
Yeah.
takes work too.
And it takes you're absolutely right. It takes work, it takes consistency, and it takes, wanting it really comes from ourselves. When it comes
Yeah.
to emotional needs, first of all, I never knew that I had emotional needs. I didn't even knew what
Mhm.
emotions were. Like I thought emotions were just a state of being, right? You're either sad or you're either angry. And those were the only two things. I didn't even put names to them. I didn't name them emotions. I was just like, I'm sad or I'm angry. I'm not sad. I am feeling sad. So once I separate the emotion from the feeling, I'm sorry, yeah, and then naming what I'm feeling that's even an exploration within itself. We're often very scared to go after emotions because who wants to feel sad? Who wants to feel angry? But when we do it with intention, then it becomes exciting. Then we get to learn about ourselves. So I I would encourage everyone to to at least have that approach to kind of change the script too when it comes to emotions. Emotions aren't something that we need to be afraid of. It can be very healing, it could be very awful. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, I'd rather cope with something else. But once you get past it takes 90 seconds for an emotion to pass. Feel it 100% for 90 seconds. And then beautiful things happen after that. But it does take intentionality. And like anything, when we want to self improve or we want to do it differently, I hate it. I wish it was an overnight thing. I wish I didn't have to, take years to learn it or months or weeks, but we can collapse timelines. Collapsing timelines is like, we all have to go through what we have to go through in order to get the lessons and the gratitude from it. But if we do it with intention, it collapses timeline. We can get to our awareness and our level of exploration much faster by being curious instead of fearing it. And again, it's not easy to feel emotions because a lot of times we just, okay, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad. What do I do? It's going into that sadness and kind of interviewing it. Where is it even coming from? Where was the time that you felt this before? The very first, even if it doesn't have to be childhood, I mean, obviously I go back to the childhood all the time and that's where things are rooted. But it can start with, what am I feeling right now? If I'm feeling sad because I feel disrespected, or I feel sad because I wanted to have a conversation and I didn't feel understood. I feel sad because I feel judged, or I feel sad because I'm not proud of how I show up. These are all things that we can journal about or talk to someone about and get clarity and not live in the story of it or live in the situation of it. We have like observe it from the outside. My favorite thing is to look at it like a movie. If you were to look at your life as a movie, what is your characters playing? What is the role that they're playing? Are they the victim or are they the creator? Are they the challenger or are they the persecutor? Are they the coach or are they the rescuer? And all of those roles does not have to come with shame because we just don't know what we don't know. And it all ties and something simple as sabotaging behaviors, which could be eating, it that's the first one that comes in because it's so deeply rooted in our culture and different culture. I can't think of a culture that doesn't have food as as a way of celebrating or a way of sabotage.
Yeah, that's true. I can't think. Emotional eaters and stress eaters is a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's not like rooted in one single. Even though we both talk about it, like in Indian culture, it's very prevalent, but I think it's all over because I think,
Mhm,
like you said, it starts from childhood. Like, you don't want to go to the doctor and get an injection, and then your parents will tell you, no, no, you gotta go, and
mhm.
we get you ice cream after that. So you're like,
Yeah,
yay, treat, and then we already make that association with this is like good, and then I'm gonna get this. So it's already like in wired into us. So now as adults, we're like, oh, we had a bad day. Now we get an ice cream. Oh,
yeah.
whatever. Sorry, but I like the 90-second rule that you mentioned for emotions. It's kind of funny because there's actually one like that for food. So it takes 90 seconds before, like they call it surf the wave. So if you give yourself 90 seconds, you can kind of overcome your urge to like grab whatever it is that you think is not a healthy behavior in the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you give yourself, like maybe if you take one thing from this, it would be give yourself 90 seconds and then deal with whatever it is
Mm,
that you're trying to deal with instead of reaching for food or whatever it is that you reach for to cook. Give yourself 90 seconds,
yeah.
take a deep breath, and then move with the situation.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm starting to look at too, or bring in awareness is like whenever I'm feeling hungry or I find myself eating from, whatever space is thinking about like how is this honoring my body? How is this nourishing my body? Like am I like even yesterday to see was asking me what kind of drink I wanted and I was like, I'm going to choose the one that is going to give my body what it needs. And so I ended up getting electrolytes instead. So, just being able to like find a way to love how I'm eating from a place of, this is good for me. This is what I want to
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm starting like I hear stories all the time to see as a she works in caregiving and the way that older people and the struggles that they're having, it's starting to make me scared because I mean I know I'm not old, I'm 44, so I have time, right? But then how many people like they start to get heart conditions, my shoulder, like I'm starting to get like medical concerns, right? So I think like, just thinking about all of the experiences that she's having, I wanna I wanna be intentional with how I'm caring for myself now because at the end of my life, my children are, in the Indian parenting, they're gonna be responsible for me. Just kidding. But, being able to do what I can now within my control to honor my body and, um, create that safety as far as nourishment goes.
Yeah. And that's also a sign of respect, right? For your body. Like you
Yeah.
respect your body. Like I like to think that control rooted in discipline is not so bad when you're making intentional choices for your body, but control rooted in shame, that's where we struggle. So
Yeah.
if you're picking something because in your mind you're like, this is gonna be good for my body, and that's coming from a healthy place, not from like, oh, I need to get six packs because that's good for my body. See, that's like a complete tone shift there.
Yeah.
So it's like, which voice are you hearing? Yeah, you want it to be good for your body, but is that coming from, like Lazina said, like she wants to be healthy because she wants to have the best possible movement as she ages. And I think that's what we all want.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't go for it from like, oh, I need to be like this kind of body or this kind of diet. Because that's just shaming yourself. And not everyone's gonna be a skinny model. So and they're not meant to be. Bodies are diverse.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
I
that
think
we've got that image in our head now. We need to be that
yeah.
this particular one.
And I think people who even are, I don't know, I even feel saying somebody is skinny can also be a negative because a lot of people who are skinny, they don't have a choice or they they come with their own set of emotional unmet needs as well. So it's also really that because skinny people aren't necessarily feeling healthy either, and they are. I feel like they come with some things that they're struggling with as well, just as
Yeah.
others. So the health, I like your approach because it's really just, have it reframing and just just taking the time to look and see how deep the rabbit hole goes when it comes to food within ourselves and reframing that and taking, what's in our control. Totally agree.
Yeah. And I think we pretty much covered it because the skinny body image thing is like a whole can of worms that we can open on another.
Yeah. The conversation can go on for a while.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I'm ready to like close the curtain on this episode unless there's
Absolutely,
something you want to.
yeah. No, I think we've covered it really well. I appreciate your way, your lens, because I think it's important for us. I've experienced the yo-yo, all the diet culture things, and I've done it for so long. And in the end, I still felt ashamed and I still felt guilty and I was still in the spiral. It was when I started talking to you that I really have a better shift and an appreciation for it. And it changed my relationship with food, eating more from joy and happiness. And I'm still, sometimes it happens. I'm like, man, I'm hungry. And then I'm like, I shouldn't eat that. But you know what? Amanda said. So sometimes I use it for not so good reasons as well. But overall, I'm very happy with what I've learned from you. And, just being able to getting the mindfulness, practicing it. So it just naturally becomes second nature and having that mindset shift along with the emotional, um, I want to say the mindset shift along with the emotional appreciation is where it makes a difference for me. So
Yeah,
healthier
and thank you.
relationship with food.
Yeah, and I'm proud of you. And thank you for trusting me with taking you through that journey. It was an honor. But yeah, we have. Sorry, I have no idea what's going on with my voice today. But we got
I'm not gonna
we
shame
are
you
gonna.
for that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I'm like croaking away on this end. But we're gonna wrap up this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who
Yes.
you think is gonna benefit. And I'm gonna put the in the show notes, you're gonna find a link to the quiz I was talking about. Find your food guilt type. And we're also gonna have Lazina's quiz in there, which
Yeah.
is emotional repair language. No,
Yes.
the repair language, right?
Yeah, your repair
And
line.
yeah, so if you need to figure out your unmet needs, that's a good place to start with her quiz. And if you need to figure out your negative eating patterns and how you can change them, then you should take my quiz. So we're going to leave both those in the show notes. And till we see you next time, we're going to say
Yeah.
bye for now. All
Bye.
right.
See you
Bye.
again next week.